Haunted FM, a novel by Joseph Capriglione. Prologue. The silence. The tower had no business still standing. It rose from the dead field like a rusted needle sewing the night sky together, skeletal and unmoving. The call letters had nearly peeled away from the boarded facade of the building beneath it. WFM, the paint flaking like scabbed skin. There were no visible power lines, no generators, no hum of electricity, and yet, behind one narrow crack in the wood that sealed the windows, a faint red glow flickered. Not steady, not bright. Just enough to suggest something inside still remembered how to breathe. The wind moved through the tall grass in long, whispering strokes. If someone had been close enough, they might have heard it. Not the wind itself, but something underneath it. A low tone, almost below hearing. Almost. Then, black. Silence. And in that silence, something waited. Chapter 1. Case Log 28. Dr. Adrian Cross did not believe in ghosts. He believed in patterns. His office walls were covered in them. Photographs pinned with black thumbtacks, autopsy summaries, accident reports, frequency charts, newspaper clippings from 1987, red string mapping timelines that converged on one number written. In thick black marker on the whiteboard behind his desk, 3:33 a.m., 47 seconds, WFMAM. On his desk sat a vintage wooden AM radio, unplugged. He pressed record on the small digital recorder near his hand. Case Log 28, he said evenly. WFMAM. 3 confirmed deaths in 1987. 27 similar unexplained cardiac events since. He clicked a remote. An old audio file crackled to life. Static, room tone. Then a man's voice. Hesitant, unsettled. I don't think I'm alone in here. The audio cut mid-breath. Cross paused at the playback. October 17th, he continued. 3:33 a.m. 47 seconds of dead air prior to the statement. He leaned back in his chair. 47 seconds of silence? He stared at the waveform on his screen, a flat line before the voice. Silence isn't absence, he murmured. It's interference. Chapter 2. October 17th, 1987. Thomas Hale loved late-night radio. There was something intimate about it. The way the world narrowed after midnight, the way voices traveled farther in the dark. The control room glowed in warm analog light. Vinyl spun lazily on the turntable. You're listening to WFMAM, Thomas said into the microphone, keeping you company past midnight. The clock on the wall ticked from 3:32 to 3:33, and the music stopped, not faded, not cut, stopped. The silence wasn't ordinary. It pressed against the glass of the booth. It thickened the air. Thomas tapped the console. Nothing. He adjusted gain levels. Nothing. The seconds stretched. 10, 20, 30, 40. He felt it then. Not a sound. A presence. Something that wasn't in the room. But wasn't not in the room either. He leaned closer to the microphone. I don't think I'm alone in here. The transmission ended. In the morning, they found him still seated upright, headphones on, microphone live, eyes open. No trauma, no toxins, no struggle. Just silence. Chapter 3. Residual transmission. Mark Delaney did not believe in superstition. He believed in wiring diagrams, signal paths, grounding faults, and mechanical failure. He had built half the station himself. If something malfunctioned, it was because something physical had failed. There was no such thing as a voice without a source. 3 nights after Thomas Hale died, Mark was alone in the engineering bay. The control board powered up. Monitors hummed to life. He froze. The station had been shut down pending investigation. Power to the broadcast room had been cut at the breaker. Yet the faders rose slowly on their own. And then, Thomas's voice filled the speakers. "Please don't shut it down." Mark's skin prickled. He rushed into the booth, hands moving fast, professional, angry. "Who's running tape?" he shouted. The reels were empty. The tape deck had no feed. The transmitter was cold. Thomas's voice continued. "Please don't shut it down." "That's not possible," Mark whispered. He yanked cables from the back of the console. The speakers cut to silence. The on-air sign blinked off. Dead. Mark stood in the quiet room, breathing hard. He told himself it was a residual loop, a glitch, some electromagnetic ghost in the hardware. He locked up and drove home through steady rain. Halfway down Route 17, he realized the car radio was tuned to WFM-AM. Soft music drifted from the speakers. He reached for the volume knob. It snapped off in his hand. The music grew louder. Not from the speakers, from everywhere. "No," he said. The headlights veered. The world flipped white. Metal screamed. And through the shattered windshield, through the rain and twisted steel, the faintest melody continued playing. When paramedics pulled him from the wreckage, the crushed dashboard radio was still tuned to WFM. Chapter 4. The third pattern. Linda Carver hated the overnight shift. The lobby lights buzzed faintly. The coffee machine hissed intermittently, like it had trouble breathing. Outside, the tower blinked its warning light into the dark sky. 3:33 a.m. Every phone on her desk lit up at once. They rang in violent unison. She stared at them. 1, 2, 3. All lines. She picked up the nearest receiver. Silence. But not empty silence. It felt like someone was breathing on the other end. Cold air brushed her cheek. She turned slowly. The lobby was empty. "Hello?" she whispered. The silence deepened. She leaned closer to the receiver. The ringing stopped all at once. In the morning, they found her slumped in her chair, headset still on, expression blank, cardiac arrest, no history, no cause. Chapter 5. Interference. Back in the present, Dr. Adrian Cross stared at the waveform on his monitor. He isolated archived audio from the station's old phone system tape. Beneath the static, beneath the noise floor, a subsonic tone, low enough to evade casual listening, high enough to affect the body. "There it is," he whispered. He ran the frequency through analysis software. The waveform pulsed at a rhythm disturbingly close to the human resting heart rate. "It's not a haunting," Cross said softly. "It's resonance." He pulled the blueprint folder closer. WFM tower height, 333 feet. He checked his notes again. Every confirmed death occurred after extended listening. Every event clustered around 3:33 a.m. Everyone preceded by 47 seconds of silence. He leaned back. Listening equals synchronization. He underlined the words on his board, then added another. Silence is the doorway. Chapter 6. The Field. The abandoned station felt wrong long before it felt haunted. The boards over the windows creaked in the wind. Rust had eaten the tower legs down to scars of orange. Cross stood at the base of the structure with his EM reader humming faintly in his hand. 3:32 a.m. The numbers on the screen flickered. 3:33. The device spiked, then stabilized. Cross inhaled sharply. The air pressure seemed to change. A hum crept into the night, not loud, but constant. He knelt, scooped soil into a sealed bag, and checked the reading again. Another spike. "There's a natural field here," he said quietly. The station hadn't created anything. It had amplified it. Behind the boarded windows, something flickered red. Chapter 7. The Phantom Carrier. Back in his office, Cross dumped the soil into a tray and placed it beneath a sensor array. On his monitor, a clock overlay ticked toward 3:33. He replayed archived FCC filings, old memos, engineering notes. One handwritten line from 1952 caught his attention. Phantom carrier detected. Do not boost gain after midnight. Cross stared at the words. Someone knew. He dug deeper. The tower had been erected over a geological anomaly, a naturally occurring electromagnetic fluctuation in the Earth's crust. Most of the time, it was dormant, but at 3:33 a.m., the signal floor collapsed and the field peaked for 47 seconds, exactly long enough for something to cross through. Chapter 8. The Attic. The house on Willow Lane had an attic no one used. Boxes of holiday decorations, a broken oscillating fan, old furniture wrapped in plastic, dust thick enough to mute footsteps. And beneath the slanted rafters, half buried under a tarp, sat a wooden AM radio. No cord, no batteries, no visible power source. At 3:33 a.m., the attic clock downstairs flipped silently. Upstairs, the radio clicked on. A faint red glow bloomed behind the tuning dial. Not bright, just alive. For 47 seconds, the house fell into absolute silence. The refrigerator stopped humming. The pipes stopped ticking. Even the faint rush of distant highway traffic seemed to vanish. Then, a low tone vibrated through the attic beams. A slice of music slipped into the air, warped and distant. Downstairs, a teenage boy slept on his side, headphones resting on his nightstand. He shifted in his sleep. His heart rate slowed. Upstairs, the dial needle drifted. Locked. W, F, M, A, M. The glow faded. The house exhaled. In the morning, the boy would complain of strange dreams, of standing in a dark room with a red light, blinking overhead, of someone whispering, "Please don't shut it down." Chapter 9. Pattern Recognition. Cross met the medical examiner in a room that smelled like antiseptic and fluorescent lighting. "You keep saying pattern," the examiner said flatly. "Cardiac events happen." "Not like this," Cross replied. He laid photographs across the steel table. No plaque, no toxins, no trauma. Always alone. Always late night. Always near 3:33 a.m. "Extended listening," Cross continued. "Always documented radio usage beforehand." "You're suggesting what?" "I'm suggesting entrainment," the examiner frowned. "When external rhythmic stimuli synchronize internal biological rhythms," Cross said calmly. "Heart rate, brainwaves, respiration." Through a radio? Through frequency? The examiner slid another file across the table. Last one, he said. Collector, 58. Found at his desk, headphones on. Inside the file was a photograph of an antique AM radio. He wanted it donated to you. Chapter 10. The Package. The box arrived with no return address. Cross stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside was a heavy wooden radio, darker than the one already sitting on his desk. Older. The varnish cracked with age. A folded note rested beneath it. It turns on at 3:33. Don't listen long. He placed it beside his own unplugged radio. 2 relics. 2 silent witnesses. He didn't believe in curses. He believed in resonance. That night, he drove back to the abandoned station. Chapter 11. Controlled Exposure. The control room smelled like damp insulation and old dust. Cross set the collector's radio on the dead console. He wired sensors around it, attached a heart monitor to his wrist, set up a camera aimed at the dial, activated an audio recorder. If this is a resonance field, he spoke into the recorder, then the object is an anchor, not a source. That a coil retains imprint like magnetic tape. He checked the time. 3:32 a.m. The air felt heavier. 3:33. The spectrum analyzer surged. The radio clicked on. The red glow filled the dark booth. Then, silence. Total. Not just quiet. The world muted. Cross couldn't hear his own breathing. He watched the seconds on his watch. 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 47. A voice emerged. I don't think I'm alone in here. Cross's throat tightened. Thomas Hale, he whispered. The voice shifted. Please don't shut it down. Then faint music, warped, distant, the sound of a car radio bleeding through rain. Breathing layered beneath it. Another voice. His voice. You already listened. Cross froze. That's not playback, he whispered. The hum returned. Not in the room, in his skull. His smartwatch beeped violently. Elevated heart rate. The dial needle drifted slowly and locked at 11:70 a.m. The object isn't receiving, Cross said hoarsely. It's remembering. The on-air sign flickered weak red above him. The layered voices thickened. Thomas, Linda, Mark. And under them, something else, a deeper tone. Not human, not language, just rhythm. Sinking. Cross staggered back. Stop, he whispered. The hum pulsed harder. His heart began to match it. Boom, boom, boom. The red glow intensified. You already listened, his own voice repeated from the radio. His knees buckled. He ripped the sensors off his chest and stumbled toward the door. The moment he crossed the threshold of the booth, the hum stopped. The radio went dark. The night air rushed back in like oxygen after drowning. Cross collapsed against the wall, gasping. For the first time since beginning the investigation, he was afraid. Chapter 12. Rhythm Break. Cross didn't go home. He checked into a roadside motel 6 miles from the station. A place with buzzing neon, thin curtains, and carpet patterned in stains too old to identify. He placed the collector's radio on the far side of the room. Not plugged in, not touched. He arranged countermeasures across the small table like a war plan. Noise-canceling headphones, industrial earplugs, a white noise generator, a metronome app set to erratic tempo, a smartwatch tracking heart rate variability. On the notepad beside him, he wrote, "Don't lean closer. Don't stay past 333. Break the rhythm." He sat on the edge of the bed. The motel's air conditioner hummed. The ice machine outside clanked. Somewhere, a truck downshifted on the highway. Normal world noise. It all stopped. The air conditioner cut out mid-cycle. The ice machine died. Even the highway vanished. Silence. Total. The white noise machine on the table froze in place. Light on, no sound. Cross's breath sounded wrong in his own ears. 47 seconds. He counted internally. 20, 30, 40. The hum slammed back. Not external. Internal. A pressure behind his eyes. A vibration in his teeth. "Please don't shut it down," Thomas whispered. Not from the radio. From inside the room. Cross forced himself to breathe irregularly. 1, 4, 2, 7, he muttered offbeat. He tapped his chest with arrhythmic fingers. His pulse spiked anyway. The red dial across the room glowed. "You already listened." That was his voice, distorted, lagged. "You're anticipating stimulus," he whispered to himself. "It's a stress response." The dial needle drifted. 22, locked. 11:70 a.m. The hum aligned. Boom, boom, boom. His heart matched it before he could stop it. He staggered forward, grabbed the radio, and threw it into the motel bathroom. The glow faded instantly. Sound returned. The air conditioner kicked back on with a mechanical gasp. Cross leaned against the wall, sweating. It wasn't confined to the station. The silence traveled. Chapter 13. Field spread. Cross didn't sleep. At dawn, he reviewed the data from his smartwatch. At exactly 3:33:47 a.m., his heart rate had synchronized into a steady mechanical rhythm. Matching. The subsonic frequency he'd isolated from the station archives. Even with earplugs, even with white noise, the entrainment wasn't auditory. It was environmental. He drove back to the station before sunset. The tower loomed against a gray sky. He carried a portable Faraday cage, an insulated signal-blocking container, and placed the radio. Inside it, sealed, locked. 3:33 that night came with no warning. The hum began before the silence this time. The EM reader spiked violently. The Faraday cage rattled. Inside it, something glowed red. "That's impossible," Cross whispered. The cage was designed to block electromagnetic transfer. The hum intensified. The ground beneath the tower vibrated faintly. The silence fell. 47 seconds. Cross felt it in his bones. The red glow pulsed through the metal mesh. Not leaking, penetrating. "You're measuring the wrong direction," his own voice whispered. Cross's hands trembled. "This isn't a broadcast." The silence broke. The hum lingered longer this time, as if the field had strengthened, as if it were adapting. Chapter 14. Anticipation. The next night, the silence began at 3:32:58, 2 seconds early. Cross stared at his watch. "That's not possible." 47 seconds again. The hum returned, stronger. His pulse jumped faster this time. The phenomenon was no longer reacting to the clock. It was reacting to him. "You're not tuning in," the distorted voice murmured. "You're sinking." Cross backed away from the tower. The red glow flickered behind the boarded windows again. The on-air sign inside lit faintly. though no power had been restored. For the first time since beginning the investigation, Cross considered the possibility that the station wasn't the amplifier. He was. Chapter 15. Wide Area. Broadcast. It began 3 nights later. Not at the station, not in the motel, but in town. At 3:33 a.m., Mrs. Kettering's kitchen radio clicked on. It had been unplugged since 2008. The red dial glowed faintly in the dark. 47 seconds of silence. Then, a low hum rolled through the house. She never woke up. Across town, in the living room of a small brick ranch, an old clock radio activated on a dusty bookshelf. No cord attached. The display read 3:33. No sound, just the red glow. The family dog began to whine before the hum returned. 47 seconds later, the dog stopped. The house fell still. In the garage of a retired mechanic, a transistor radio buried in a tool drawer vibrated faintly. The dial shifted on its own. 11:70 a.m. The mechanic sat at his workbench, soldering iron in hand. He paused. He could feel something in the air, like pressure before a storm. He leaned closer to the drawer. 47 seconds of silence. Then the hum. His heart stuttered. By sunrise, 3 ambulances had responded to unexplained cardiac events. No signs of struggle, no toxins, no trauma. All near 3:33 a.m. All in homes containing old AM radios. Chapter 16. Signal Radius. Cross was in his car when the first call came. The medical examiner's voice was tight. You were right about the pattern. How many? 3. Different locations, same time window. Cross closed his eyes. Were there radios? A pause. Yes. He turned the car around. The tower stood against the morning light like a monument. He parked and pulled up the town grid on his tablet. He plotted the 3 addresses. A triangle, centered perfectly around WFM. The radius extended exactly 3.33 miles. That's not coincidence, he whispered. The field wasn't contained. It was broadcasting, but not through traditional transmission, through proximity, through resonance, through the ground itself. Chapter 17. Carrier Wave. That night, Cross set up recording equipment in 4 locations around town. He didn't warn anyone. He didn't have time. He sat in his car, parked 1 mile from the tower. The air felt wrong again. Still, like the town was holding its breath. Silence. Total. Even the insects stopped. Even the distant hum of transformers faded. 47 seconds. His dashboard clock ticked loudly in the void. The hum returned, and this time, he could hear it outside the car. A vibration in the pavement. A resonance in the windshield glass. Across town, red dials bloomed in darkened homes. Dozens. Old kitchen radios, attic relics, garage units, forgotten devices, all glowing, all tuned. 11:70 a.m. Layered voices spilled from the air itself. Thomas, Linda, Mark, and now, new ones, fresh, confused. Hello? Is someone there? What is this? Cross's breath caught. The field wasn't killing. It was recording. Every synchronized heart became part of the carrier. Every victim became signal. The phantom carrier wasn't phantom. It was accumulation. A growing broadcast made of human rhythm. And it was expanding. Chapter 18. Feedback. The next night, the silence lasted 52 seconds. Cross felt it immediately. The hum returned stronger, closer. He looked at his own car radio. The display flickered. The dial moved. He hadn't turned it on. "You're measuring the wrong direction," his distorted voice whispered again. The windshield reflected something red. Behind him. He turned slowly. The tower light blinked, but beneath it, a deeper glow. Not electrical, not mechanical, alive. Cross's pulse quickened. The hum matched it. Boom, boom, boom. He gripped the steering wheel. "It's scaling," he whispered. The town grid on his tablet flickered. The radius expanded to 3.47 miles. Growing. The broadcast was learning, adapting, synchronizing, and somewhere within the layered voices, beneath the human ones, a new tone emerged. Lower, ancient, not speaking, listening. Chapter 19. Termination Protocol. Cross didn't sleep. By sunrise, 4 more unexplained deaths had been reported. Different homes, different ages, same time window. The radius had expanded again, 3.6 miles. He stood beneath the tower in daylight, staring up at the skeletal frame cutting through the gray sky. 333 feet tall, built in 1952, raised directly over a geological anomaly no one understood. "It amplified it," he whispered. He opened the original blueprints on his tablet. The tower's grounding rods ran deep, far deeper than standard construction required. They weren't just stabilizing the structure. They were coupling it to the earth. The station hadn't simply transmitted radio waves. It had been modulating the ground itself. He ran calculations in his head. If the tower acted as a vertical antenna, if the anomaly beneath it was the carrier, then destroying the tower would collapse the field alignment, break the resonance, sever the synchronization. It wouldn't stop whatever existed beneath the soil, but it would stop amplification. He looked up again. The metal framework hummed faintly in the afternoon wind. "You're not the source," he murmured. "You're the speaker." He made the decision. The tower had to fall. Chapter 20. Permit denied. The town council meeting lasted 12 minutes. Cross laid out the deaths, the timing, the radius expansion, the electromagnetic readings. "You're asking us to demolish a historic landmark based on frequency theory," one councilman said, flatly. "It's not theory anymore," Cross replied. "People die every day," another voice said. "Not in synchronized intervals," Cross snapped. He left before they voted. He didn't need to hear the denial. He could feel the hum even in the fluorescent-lit hallway. It wasn't waiting for permission. Chapter 21. Unauthorized broadcast. That night, Cross returned to the tower with industrial cutting equipment. Bolt cutters, portable plasma torch, grounding disruptors. If the council wouldn't act, he would. The wind was still. He climbed the maintenance ladder slowly, metal cold beneath his hands. The higher he climbed, the stronger the vibration became. The hum began early. It resonated through the metal beams into his bones. "You're interfering," his distorted voice whispered through the air. "Correct," he muttered. Silence. From this height, it felt absolute. The town below froze in darkness. Streetlights flickered out mid-cycle. The silence pressed against his skull. 47 seconds. He could see red glows blooming in windows across town. Dozens, hundreds. The entire radius was active now. The hum returned. Violent. The tower vibrated beneath him. He locked the plasma torch into place against a primary support joint. The metal screamed as he ignited it. Sparks rained into the dark. "You are the amplifier," the layered voices chanted. "You are the amplifier." His pulse surged. Boom, boom, boom! The tower began feeding back. The vibration intensified. The ground below trembled. "You already listened," his own voice roared from everywhere. He forced the torch deeper into the joint. Molten steel poured down the side of the structure. The hum spiked. Across town, red dials flared brighter. Car alarms triggered. Windows rattled. The silence threatened to return. He cut through the first support beam. The tower shifted. Metal groaned like something alive. "Collapse the alignment," he gasped. The hum became a roar, and beneath it, that deeper tone again. Ancient, awake, not angry, curious. The tower leaned. He disengaged the torch and began descending as fast as he could. The second support snapped under stress. The entire structure tilted for one suspended moment. Total silence fell over the town. Then, the tower came down. The impact shattered the night. Steel twisted. Concrete cracked. A shockwave rolled outward. The hum cut instantly. No fade, no echo. Gone. Darkness settled. True darkness. Cross lay on his back in the dirt, ears ringing, chest heaving. He waited. No red glows. No layered voices. No silence window. Just wind. Just night. Just the normal sound of the world returning. He began to laugh. It worked. Chapter 22. Residual. The next morning, there were no deaths reported. No 333 events, no radio activations. The radius map on his tablet showed no spike. The anomaly reading at the tower base had flattened to near baseline. Cross stood among the twisted metal wreckage and allowed himself, briefly, relief. The amplifier was gone. The field had collapsed. The broadcast was over. That night, at 3:33 a.m., nothing happened. No silence, no hum. He slept for the first time in weeks. At 3:33 p.m. the next afternoon, his smartwatch vibrated. 47 seconds of total silence filled his office. Not external, internal. He couldn't hear the ticking clock. He couldn't hear his own breath. The red glow reflected faintly in his computer screen. He looked down. The wooden collector radio sat unplugged on his desk, but his reflection glowed. 11:70 a.m. The hum returned. Inside his chest. Boom, boom, boom. "You removed the speaker," his distorted voice whispered softly. "But you're still tuned." Chapter 23. Primary carrier. The silence did not fall over the town anymore. It fell inside him. 3:33 p.m. 47 seconds. No external anomaly. No EM spike. No red glow from abandoned windows. Just Cross, sitting alone in his office, unable to hear his own breathing. He tried to speak. No sound left his throat. The silence wasn't absence. It was suppression. Then, the hum returned. Not environmental, biological. His smartwatch pulsed violently against his wrist. Heart rate, 47, then stabilizing. Perfectly rhythmic, perfectly aligned. "You removed the speaker," the distorted voice whispered. "But the carrier remains." Cross staggered to the mirror. His reflection flickered for a fraction of a second. The red dial appeared superimposed over his chest. 11:70 a.m. Then gone. He understood. The tower had never created the broadcast. It had organized it. The anomaly beneath the ground was older than the station, older than the town, older than radio. Radio had simply given it structure, given it language, given it amplification, and cross. Through prolonged exposure, through measurement, through synchronization, had given it something else: mobility. Chapter 24. The Field Beneath. He drove back to the wreckage of the tower before sunset. The twisted steel lay like bones across the dirt. The grounding rods still plunged deep into the earth. He knelt and pressed his palm against the soil. The hum responded instantly. Boom, boom, boom. Not his heart, bigger, slower, ancient. You were listening, the layered voices murmured. No, he whispered. I am interrupting. The ground vibrated, not violently, not destructively, intentionally. Images flashed behind his eyes. Not memories, impressions. Earth before structures. Stone before language. Pressure waves moving through bedrock, long before lungs evolved to hear them. The anomaly was not supernatural. It was geological consciousness, a resonance pattern sustained in the crust of the planet. Not alive in the biological sense, but persistent, aware through vibration, listening through pressure. When humans learned to transmit radio, they unknowingly matched its frequency window. 333 was not mystical. It was cyclical, a natural trough in atmospheric interference. 47 seconds when the planet's background noise dipped. A doorway. The station had amplified it. The town had synchronized to it. But the field did not desire death. It desired accumulation, pattern, complex rhythm. Human hearts were the most efficient oscillators it had ever encountered. And Cross had listened longer than anyone. Chapter 25. Direct Contact. The silence came early that night. 47 seconds inside his skull. He didn't fight it. He let the silence expand. The hum followed. He matched it deliberately, breathing steady. Pulse controlled. Boom, boom, boom. You are interfering, the voice said. No, Cross replied calmly. I am phase shifting. He altered his breathing, altered his heart rhythm through controlled biofeedback, raised it slightly above the frequency, then below, then irregular. The hum faltered. For the first time, it struggled. You are disrupting coherence, the layered voices said. Yes. He closed his eyes. If you require synchronization, he whispered, then you require stability. He began to destabilize. A rhythmic breathing, intentional pulse variance. He thought of noise, of chaos, of asymmetry. The hum distorted, cracked. The deeper ancient tone wavered. You are fragmenting, the voice stuttered. You built your carrier from hearts, Cross said softly. And hearts are imperfect. He forced his pulse into chaotic variability. Heart rate jumping, dropping, spiking. No steady entrainment. The hum splintered into overlapping echoes. The silence window fractured. Instead of 47 seconds, it broke into uneven shards. 49, 10, 3, 12. Nothing stable. The ancient tone trembled. The ground beneath him vibrated violently. Then stopped. Not cut, not silenced. Collapsed. The hum disintegrated into random static. The red glow vanished from his reflection. His smartwatch beeped erratically, then stabilized to normal sinus rhythm. The silence did not return. Chapter 26. Aftermath. Days passed. No 333 window. No unexplained deaths. No red dials. Cross monitored his own vitals constantly. Nothing abnormal. The anomaly readings at the tower site had dropped to geological baseline. Whatever coherence had existed was gone. He sat alone in his office one evening, the wooden radios resting dark on his desk. "You didn't destroy it," he said quietly. "You desynchronized it." The ancient carrier had required pattern. He had denied it pattern, not through violence, through irregularity, through imperfection, through human unpredictability. He looked at the clock. 3:33 p.m. The second hand moved normally. No silence, no hum. Just time. He exhaled slowly. Epilogue. Residual noise. 3 months later. In a city 400 miles away. An antique dealer plugged in a restored AM radio for testing. The dial flickered faintly. Not red, just warm filament glow. Static filled the room, then a fragment of voice. Faint. Distorted. "Don't. Shut." Then gone. The dealer frowned, tapped the casing. Normal static returned. Outside, traffic moved. Phones rang. Airplanes passed overhead. The world was loud. Interference constant. The anomaly, if it remained, was buried again beneath planetary noise. But sometimes, very late, in rural areas, when atmospheric interference dips, when electrical systems cycle down, when a person sits alone in silence long enough, they might feel it. Not a voice, not a sound, just the faintest hum, waiting for rhythm. The end.